Are you an emotional eater? If so, I have 3 must-do tips that I want to share with you in this video. I know it's not easy. I've gone through my fair share of emotional eating myself, and it doesn't just go away overnight. Though I have found a few things that have basically helped me eliminate the problem altogether. I mean, I'm not super strict about it. My diet is so great in general that if I do find I'd really like a little something extra one day because I'm feeling maybe a bit down or whatever, I might just go for it. In the past, however, that happened way too often at certain points in my life, and it would never be just a little something extra. It would turn into eating anything and everything that I could get my hands on. And it could even turn into days of eating pure crap and feeling sorry for myself. Now, there are lots of ways to try to mitigate the damage, so to speak, and I'll share some must-do things with you shortly. Though there is something we need to talk about first, because if you do not go through and understand what I'm about to share with you right now, no trick or hack will ever solve the problem for you. Though if you work through what I'll share with you now and also do those must-do tips, you may just find it will all sort itself out and emotional eating will just be something of the past. By the way, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm Ingunn, a Norwegian Viking. With my extensive research into the science of nutrition and weight loss and having transformed my own body and life, I now help others do the same. With a focus on actually helping our body and metabolism function optimally, it's possible to lose weight naturally and more easily. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and click that bell button as you won't want to miss my next video. So when it comes to emotional eating, first of all, it's very important to see it for what it really is. You're eating because you're emotional, and we all make worse decisions when we're emotional. I'll say that again. We all make worse decisions when we're emotional. Some people may pick a unnecessary and totally unreasonable fight with their partner. Some may decide to go on a shopping spree and spend half their salary in just a few minutes. And some may decide to eat anything and everything they can get their hands on. The point is, our decision-making skills are not great when we're emotional. And that's fine. I mean, if it's just a rare occurrence, it's not really something to worry about. I mean, food-wise. Though we'll get back to what to do about that shortly. Now, if you're struggling with emotional eating, I'm guessing it's not just a once-in-a-blue-moon occurrence though, am I right? So here's the thing. The food here is not the problem, and adding fuel to your emotional fire by getting upset about how much crap you're eating while being emotional won't make things any better. Now, I'm not suggesting you should just let yourself go all out and eat whatever whenever you're emotional. However, what's more important than the food right now is that you realize that the main problem is not the food. The main problem is that you're so emotional so often. So your first goal is to try to figure out why. Forget about the food right now. It will sort itself out if you address whatever is causing you to be so emotional. Plus, if you do those must-do things I'll share with you shortly. Because let's face it, you'll always have times when you'll be more emotional. So you're going to want to follow those must-do tips as well. Now, being emotional is not a bad thing in itself. It's totally natural for us to be emotional from time to time, and there's nothing wrong with that. Though if it happens too often and it's really putting a dent in your life, then you need to address it. And the biggest question you can ask yourself is, why? And just keep asking why until you get to the root cause. So remember to do this exercise while you're not emotional. So just start by asking why. Why am I so emotional so often? Or why was I so emotional last night? And then you can ask yourself, is that a fair reason? Am I maybe being too hard on myself? Is it a good enough reason to waste my life? Are there ways to improve my situation? Are there more important things in my life that I should focus my time on? Do I also have good things in my life? Good people, or things that I could do that would actually move me forward in life, or closer to a life that I would be happy with. By the way, I would really appreciate if you gave this video a thumbs up. And also remember that you may find lots more tips on my Instagram profile at Viking Ingunn. Now, it's very important to be completely honest with yourself and dig deeper and deeper until you find what these emotions are rooted in. And you might need to do this a few different times on a few different occasions to really get there. Though please, remember to only do this exercise when you are not emotional, and try to keep your emotions out of it while you're responding. You can write down your answers, and if you start to get too emotional, you can just take a break and then get back to it where you left off when you're no longer emotional. The reason it's so important to do this exercise when you're not emotional is because while we're emotional, we're not able to think rationally and clearly. We may think we're being rational and that we see everything clearly in the moment, though our brains are basically wired to take us further and further down that rabbit hole of feeling sorry for ourselves and justifying our feelings of how our life is a total disaster, how the whole world is against us, nothing is working out for us, I'm never going to get out of this mess, etc., etc. So do this exercise when you're not emotional. When you're asking yourself why, it's to try to get to the root of the problem, not to justify your feelings. Those are two very different things. And once you know what the root of the problem is, you know exactly what you need to work on. And it will very likely be uncomfortable to work on those things. And you might also need help, either by reading books on the subject, talking to someone who's a good listener, or just writing down your thoughts. It can all help. Now also remember that it's totally okay to be emotional. Sometimes you might not even have a real reason for being emotional in the first place. And that's totally fine. We all have days when we feel good, days when we're not feeling our best. That's all part of life. I myself am a pretty emotional person, and I know that simply being stressed and tired can make me more emotional. So there doesn't even need to be a real reason for me to get emotional. Even just the tiniest thing can make me emotional if I'm extra stressed or tired, for example. The biggest thing is to avoid going down that rabbit hole of trying to justify and looking for reasons to feed those emotions while we're emotional. Remember, we don't think clearly when we're emotional. So don't think too much. You don't need to ignore your emotions, just don't feed them further. Be okay with being emotional. Tell yourself that it's fine, it's okay. Feel those emotions if it helps, just don't feed them further. Okay, so what are those 3 must-do tips for emotional eating? Find comfort food that's not actually bad for you. So even if you do end up eating a ton, at least it won't make your health suffer, and you're way less likely to actually feel physically bad the next day. Maybe you can learn to bake fries in the oven, for example, so that you can have fries and a burger, for example, without having to eat all that harmful vegetable oil. By the way, you're really going to want to check out this video right here on what happens to your body when you eat vegetable oil. It's scary. Now, if you want some sweet treats, find something that's not actually bad for your health. Check out this recipe here if you haven't already. Even just the act of baking or cooking in those situations might help your mood and even help you from not feeding those emotions further. Now, it's also very important that you eat enough satiating and nutrient-dense foods in general. And that includes something sweet every day as well if you enjoy sweet taste. That way you ensure that your body is at least getting the nutrients it needs, and that you won't go further overboard with any bad food choices because you were actually hungry on top of being emotional. By the way, also know that if you're trying to lose weight, you can still eat to satiety. It has everything to do with your diet and whether or not it's optimized for your metabolism. Feeling hungry all the time and finding it difficult to lose weight can be a sign that you have a dysfunctional metabolism. So you're definitely going to want to address that. If you'd like help, you're going to want to check out my weight loss program called Slim by Science. That's all about reigniting your metabolism for natural and easier weight loss. You can find out more and join if you head over to slimbyscience.com. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Now, you're also going to want to avoid having to make any food choices while you are emotional. Remember, we make worse choices when we're emotional. So do yourself a huge favor and remove that need to make a choice. Make sure your home is stocked up on food. You don't want to go grocery shopping while you're emotional. You'll set yourself up for either buying a bunch of food that you'll later regret eating, or you'll use a huge amount of effort and willpower trying to resist buying those foods. So plan ahead so that you can go grocery shopping for the whole week or at least several days in a row. So if you end up feeling emotional during the week, you know that you have food at home that's actually good for you. And you may even have decided already what you're going to have for dinner that day, so there's no choice to be made. This also applies to whenever you're feeling stressed or hungry, by the way. Try to avoid grocery shopping and in general having to make food choices when you're either emotional, stressed, or hungry. Now, it's also a good idea to try to find something to do that you enjoy and that might bring you some comfort while you're emotional that does not include eating. It can be anything from watching a movie, going for a walk, taking a bath, listening to some music, talking to your friends, etc. So just keep in mind that the point here is not to tune out the emotions. If it's just one of those days when you're just not feeling your best, that might just be fine to try to tune out those emotions if you find that it helps. I mean, in those situations where there's not really a reason why you're being emotional. Though if there's something deeper going on or it happens often, you'll definitely want to do what we talked about earlier in this video. And if you find that to be uncomfortable, maybe even your whole body is telling you not to do it, it might just mean that you're onto something big that needs to be dealt with. So give these things a try, give yourself time to work on it, and I think you'll find that things will get a whole lot easier. And if you have any tips to add to this that have worked for you, I'm sure we'd all love to hear, so please share them with us in the comments below. And remember, if you're looking to lose weight naturally and more easily, make sure to check out my weight loss program called Slim by Science at slimbyscience.com. You'll find the link in the description of this video. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. Here are 2 videos you'll want to check out next. Enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.